Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Candace. I live in Dallas, Texas, currently with my husband and our two baby girls. If you followed my channel for a while, you would know that this video is a little bit different from the videos that I normally post on my channel. I normally post about lifestyle, motherhood, fitness, things like that, productivity, all that good stuff. But today's video is going to be a sit down story time. I want to talk to you guys as if you guys are like my friend. I'm literally in my room right now. We're just hanging out and we are sharing life experiences. I posted a video a couple years back that went viral, and I think it's where a lot of my subscribers came from. It was me sharing 4 times that I avoided being human trafficked in New York City. I'll leave the link down below. None of those times were ever confirmed to be human trafficking attempts, but I did share them with you guys in the hopes that it would raise awareness. They were extremely unusual circumstances that happened to me, and I feel like it could have turned out much differently had I acted in a different way or had I been a little bit off my guard that day. And I think that it's really, really important to share these stories as much as possible, especially, within the young adult community. Sometimes we may not act on our instincts as we should. With that being said, before I dive into the video, please be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel, and let's get into today's video. Alright, so the purpose of the video today is to basically share these 2 stories of these 2 things that happened to me and talk about the lessons that I learned from them, and hopefully it will help you guys out if you're ever in a similar situation. So I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory on myself. From a very young age, I had traveled the world. So I used to be a professional athlete and I played for the country of Ghana, and I did a lot of trainings and tournaments and games in a lot of different countries, and a lot of the time I was traveling by myself. So from the ages of about 15 to 19, I went to upwards of like 10 or so different countries on totally different continents, and I had to very quickly become adept at navigating change, foreign surroundings, and it's always been something that I've been comfortable with, and I've learned how to keep my guard up and how to, be an avid, smart traveler. So I just want to give that disclaimer because I did have a lot of people in my first video saying like, oh, she's super naive and whatnot, and no, that is not the case. With that being said, you can't be 100% at all times, but I do think that looking back, I definitely should have been smarter than what I was in these situations and been a little bit more on my guard. So let's get into the stories. So I used to live in New York City, and I lived there for about 6 years. And while I was there, I had a wonderful lash technician that would do my lashes. If you guys watch my videos, you know that I love getting my lashes done. And I went to her for years and years and years. So initially, when I first started going to her, she was actually doing lashes out of her apartment. She had set up a studio in her apartment, and I would take the train up to her, go into her apartment, do my lashes, and then take the train back home. It was not a really long commute for me to go from where I lived. So we both lived in Manhattan, so I would say it was about like 2 or 3 train stops. So on this particular day, I had taken the train up to where she lived. She actually lived on the last stop of one of the trains, so pretty high up in Manhattan, in Uptown. I, went to her apartment, had my lashes done, everything was fine. As I was leaving out of her apartment and coming back down towards the train, it started to drizzle. It looked like it was going to be a thunderstorm. So I'm walking back to the corner where the train station is, and if you guys have been to New York, you know that to get into the subway, you usually, take the stairs to go down, excuse me, or some subway stations actually have like an elevator that goes down to the platform. So the way that this station was, I was on a street corner that actually didn't have the staircase to go down into the train station. I would have had to cross the street either way to get to one of those, but that corner did have an elevator to go into the train station. So generally people don't really use the elevators. It's mostly for disabled people, older people, I would say like pregnant people, because it's just not very big and it's very slow, and sometimes there's like a not so pleasant surprise in the elevator. So I would say like I generally would not take the elevator. I would just take the stairs like everyone else. But because it had just started to rain and I was waiting at the pedestrian crosswalk, I decided to just take the elevator. It was going to be like a 1 minute elevator ride to get down to the train platform. I decided to just take the elevator. So as soon as I jump in the elevator, I realized that I made a mistake because I smell an all too familiar smell, which is the smell of a homeless man who was standing in the corner. So I immediately knew he was homeless. I smelled him before I saw him, and I looked at him for a couple seconds, and he looked very disheveled. He was wearing like a lot of layers of clothes that looked kind of dirty. He looked like he hadn't had a haircut in a while. And I immediately knew that I had made a mistake. So in hindsight, I should have literally just turned around and walked out of the elevator. But I had this like moment of suppressing my instinct because I didn't want to be rude. And that is literally the lesson of this story, you guys. Before I go on, never try to forfeit your safety just because you don't want to be rude to someone. That is not a thing. If you ever feel uncomfortable in a situation, just get out. It doesn't matter how you get out, just get out. And looking back, that's really what I should have done, because the situation could have ended up a lot worse. Now, I'm not saying every time you see a homeless person, like, you should run, but I had this little instinctual feeling that I should not be in the elevator alone with this man. So I ignored my instinct and I just let the elevator door close. And literally, you guys, as soon as the elevator door closes, this man changes like from night to day, or from day to night, I would say. He literally starts acting very erratic. His movements are like extremely erratic, very violent, very aggressive. He starts yelling obscenities, all while, like I said, this is like not supposed to be longer than like a 1 minute elevator ride. I don't know why that was like the longest minute of my life, but he starts yelling obscenities, and I'm actually facing towards the door because I just don't want to draw like any more attention to myself. The elevator is not too big, but he's in one corner, I'm in the other corner. I'm just like facing the door, but I'm also paying attention out of the corner of my eye. It was about 15 seconds into the ride, and he starts saying things like, "I'm gonna mess her up. I hate this bitch. I'm gonna kick her butt." And you guys, this is when my fight or flight response I felt start to be activated. So they say, like, you know, in certain situations back in like the primal times, you would either run away or you would stay and fight. And because I literally couldn't run away because I was stuck in the elevator, I started to literally feel my adrenaline pumping, and I kind of went into this like hyper concentration mode where I was, you know, acting cool, calm, and collected, but I was paying attention to the corner of my eye, and I just knew that like if anything was gonna go down, I was gonna fight to the end. Okay, I just tell people like I'm gonna fight like a wet cat in a bag. That being said, I also, you know, am thinking in my head, I'm like, you know, I feel strong. This is why I work out. You know, I definitely feel like if anything were to happen to me, I would be able to hold my own as long as we are, you know, hand-to-hand combat. I'm just hyper focused. I'm staring at the elevator doors, but literally all of my senses are like on. And like I said, this was literally like the longest minute of my life, and luckily it did not escalate. I did not respond to him. I did not give him any attention. I didn't want to egg him on. And as soon as those doors open, you guys, I have never run out of someplace so fast. And that was pretty much the end of that. But as soon as I got on the train and it all started to really hit hit me and I started to process it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like why would I even put myself in a situation like that at all? Who knows what he had on him, if he had any weapons or anything. He clearly was not right in the head. And I was thinking to myself, like, I literally put myself in that situation all because I didn't want to offend him, and I put like not offending him ahead of like my own safety. So that is literally the first lesson that I'm going to leave you guys with, and that is never put your own safety below or prioritize anything over your safety. Okay, so the second story, ironically, is also when I'm on my way to seeing my lash technician. So this is about a year later, and she actually had stopped doing appointments out of her apartment, and instead she had like a really cute brownstone where she worked out of a salon, and it was a little bit more of a trek for me because I lived on the west side of Manhattan and the brownstone was south and east of where I lived. So if you've been to New York City, you know that there are no trains that run west to east. They only run north to south. So if you do want to get across town, you either have to walk or you have to take the buses. Now, I never take the buses just because I feel like they're unreliable, and I always like to get in more exercise when I can. So for this particular appointment, I took the train down a couple stops to 125th Street in Harlem, and I walked a couple blocks east. I would say a good like 5 or 6 blocks east, and I arrived at the brownstone. So the brownstone was basically like a situation where you had to buzz in, and basically you buzz, and then you know, whoever's apartment you buzz, you talk to them, you confirm who you are, and then they let you in the door. So I buzz up to the salon and I tell her, hey, it's Candace, and she buzzes the door open for me. So as I'm opening the door, I hear someone behind me say, hey, hold the door, hold the door. Right then, that was another situation where I didn't feel good about it. For people that live in more rural areas, it might not be as strange to hear someone say, hold the door, but given the fact that I knew this was a private brownstone area that you had to buzz in, or brownstone building that you had to buzz in, and I heard the voice behind me that it was a male voice, I had no business holding the door. But once again, because I didn't want to be rude, I went ahead and I held the door. But it is a male figure, and I kind of already have this thought where I'm like, well, that's kind of weird because I know that there's only like facial and lash and like nail salons in this building. So what are the chances he's getting that? I don't know. I think he kind of sees like the confusion on my face, and he goes, oh, I know someone that lives in this building. And I'm like, well, that's awfully strange because people don't live in this building. It's literally a business building. I was just like, you know what, whatever. I only have to climb 1 flight of stairs and get to where I'm going. I just climbed the stairs really quickly, and my lash tech actually opens the door like on the landing, and I'm like, hi, and I literally just go in behind her to the salon because I know like there's a lot of people in there. It's going to be more safe than standing right there. And I think I hear her like exchange a couple words with the guy because he literally tries to come into the salon as well. And I just, you know, go into the room, and when she comes back into the room to see me, she's like, that is so weird. Like, that guy was so weird. And I'm like, I know. Like, I think he was trying to talk to me, but it was just really weird because it was sort of like he was following me. But really, that was like the end of that because she's like, oh yeah, like he left, whatever. So I'm not thinking about it at all. The normal lash appointment is about like 1.5 hours. So I have my like 1.5 hour appointment. Everything's good. I am walking out of the brownstone, and I start my little commute home, which I said was a couple blocks of walking, and I'm gonna wait for the train to take up to my apartment. You know, I stick my headphones in. It's not too late. It's in the evening time, but it's not too late. It's not dark. And I get to the train station at 125th, and I'm just standing there waiting for the train, and I feel someone tap on my shoulder, which is extremely weird no matter where you are to feel a tap on your shoulder. Like, I kind of turn around and lo and behold, it is the same guy that I held the door open for. Immediately my guard is up because not only did I not get great vibes from this man, this is a man that I saw in a different part of the city now about 2 hours ago, and I'm not sure why he's standing on the same platform next to me. And so I kind of take out one headphone and he's like, "Hi, how are you?" And I'm like, just kind of looking at him, giving the eye, and he's like, "Yeah, so I waited for you outside your appointment." He's like, "I just really wanted to talk to you." And I'm just shocked, and I'm not even really hearing his words. I'm just really upset with myself that I didn't notice that there was somebody following and literally stalking me. So it was one of those situations where I didn't feel like I was in immediate danger because there's a lot of people around and everything. But had this guy had, even worse intentions, because I won't even say that his intentions were great. Like, you'd never ever stalk a girl like that. But had he had worse intentions, he easily could have followed me like all the way home. And I would have had literally no idea. So with that being said, the lesson of this story is, if you have a situation where you feel like someone could be following you or is seeking you out, you definitely want to be on high alert, at least for the next couple hours or even day after the interaction, and always pay attention and look around you and be aware of your surroundings. Because what I would have done in hindsight is definitely stayed in there, at the salon until he left, or kind of thrown him off, or even gone into a police station just to make sure that he didn't follow me home and know exactly where I lived. And I think that's the scary part of the story, is if he really wanted to, he could have easily followed me home and I would have had no idea. But I just wanted to share that with you guys as well. But long story short, I hope those stories helped you guys somehow just to have a little bit more awareness, and you had some big takeaways, small takeaways from that. I'm gonna wrap the video up here. Thank you guys so much for watching if you made it this far. And if you want to see more videos like this, and if you think I should continue on the Storytime series, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video.